The four knights of the Apocalypse face off against the Lions of Pride in an insane fight that I was not expecting, confirming, or at least speculating for us, how strong the Lions of Pride truly was up and towards the end of the series. Could they have taken on Escanor in his prime? And Gawain sees her father for what he actually looks like for the first time ever, as now we are basically going to be getting answers for what's going to happen in the future of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, giving us some potentially actual direction for the future of the story, because I will admit things kind of feel like there is no clear sense of direction just yet, but seems like we're going to be getting there. Before we jump into things, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and ensures you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to see more of me outside this channel, go and check out my second channel, GW Comics, where I talk about comic books. I got a lot of stuff going on that channel now, and I am very passionate about this. It's a side project. I would really appreciate it if you guys go check it out whenever you get the chance. I want that channel to hit at least 5K before the end of the year, and this channel to hit 50K before the end of the year. I would really appreciate it if that happens. We are close to 50K on this channel, so let's get to that big milestone. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. Chapter 237 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled The Unexpected Meeting. Cover image is honestly very sweet, with nighttime Escanor in his iconic now war arc outfit, holding his daughter Gawain, as he has the biggest smile on his face as Gawain gets to hug her father. This isn't exactly something we'll see in the chapter, unfortunately, but this is probably one of the most wholesome images I have seen in a while for Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and I feel like Gawain getting to hug her parents, like her actual parents, is something I think we would all love to see. Also, this image pretty much confirms that Gawain is just slightly shorter, at least in her base form, to original Escanor without the power of sunshine. So I guess her height is something that's genetic to both of her parents. I forget how short, like, nighttime Escanor is in comparison to a lot of other characters, especially considering that many of us mainly think of the daytime Escanor form, but either way, insane thing to really actually, like, confirm in a cover image. But we'll begin from the end of the previous chapter, where the four knights are in a closed-off room, facing off against the Lions of Pride Escanor, as he stomps towards them. As Percival and Gawain have no idea who this guy is, and wondering where he came from, but Lancelot and Tristan instantly recognize him, as Tristan mentions that during their birthdays, when they were kids, Gother implanted memories of the seven deadly sins and our whole story within them, so they know exactly who and what Escanor looked like, as they introduce him as Escanor the Lions of Pride, heralded as the most powerful of the seven deadly sins. Now look, I'm just going to warn you guys now, this chapter is going to be non-stop glaze for Escanor, and I could not be happier. And this whole chapter is going to be a power scaler's wet dream for Escanor. That's all we're going to say as we jump right into things. Escanor keeps repeating the same thing he said previously: "Show me the blood of the boar sin of gluttony, and I will grant you the truth. Anyone impudent enough to come here while unqualified will face hopeless death." Gawain instantly realizes, oh wait, this it's my dad, right? But Lancelot says, the man died 18 years ago. This guy's probably a hollow figure made by Camelot's magic in order to guard this place. And so Tristan and Percival instantly go on to say that even if it's an illusion, we're not going to lose. And they jump forward to try and fight against this illusion of Escanor, as Escanor throws this sacred axe. Rita, with Gawain trying to stop the fighting because she wants to talk to her dad, Escanor lands Rita on Percival. He blocks it for a second, but Escanor immediately overpowers Percival, launching him into the wall as his legs are hanging out, as he has as he's basically like got knocked out in one hit. Now it's the child of Elizabeth and Meliodas' turn, as he does a spiral slashing attack around Escanor's arm. All he manages to do is tear up his sleeve, as Escanor grabs his whole face with his left hand and smashes him into the ground, knocking him out of the fight. It was probably the most comedic panel ever. Tristan's legs just pointing out of the ground as Gawain is just in shock as to what happened. Now it's Lancelot's turn, as Escanor goes over to try and land a hit on Lancelot, with Lancelot managing to seemingly easily dodge his attacks from Rita. Lancelot then places his hand on Escanor's abs, with Lancelot saying that he would have really loved to have faced off against the real one, as he then does the exact same attack he did against one of the Dark Talismans in the Entangled Forest arc, takes his hand, turns it into a fist, and pushes it right into Escanor's abs, but Escanor tells him he is very impudent. As he basically flexes and pushes Lancelot backwards, and it seems like it cramped up his fist, as Lancelot just says, "Ah, man, he messed up my wrist." So he either cramped it, fractured it, or broke it. I just think he just more or less cramped up his wrist, but still being able to nullify an attack of Lancelot's, even if it is casual Lancelot, not a full-on killing blow in this instance or full force, is definitely something to be legitimately talked about. But Lancelot wastes no time, as in the rubble, he grabs the Percival sword, or the dragon handle that Tristan was holding, and uses it for Shining Road, hitting Escanor full force with his strongest unnamed attack. But Escanor is unfazed, saying that Lancelot is impudent, as Lancelot shocked, like, is this really an illusion right now? As Escanor launches a cruel sun towards Lancelot. And I love that Lancelot is actually concerned in this instance, because no one has survived Shining Road, like, at all, without any damage. Like, even against a unserious Cath in the form of Arthur, and the clone of Cath that was in the end of the festival arc with the 4 perils. No one has fully survived Shining Road just yet, except for this creation of Escanor. But as he launches Cruel Sun, Gawain teleports in front of the Cruel Sun, telling Escanor to stop, as she launches her own sun attack, Passionate Sun, and fully counters it, causing a massive explosion. Unfortunately, Percival and Tristan are caught in the explosion. They're both burnt up. I just love some comedic collateral damage, because at least it's not just Tristan that's getting his ass handed to him in this instance, even by collateral damage. At least Percival is getting hit by it, because, like, Tristan gets way too much clowning on in this series, unfortunately. But hey, at least Percival is soaking up some of that in this one fight. Anyway, Escanor locks in on Gawain, as she squares him up, saying, "Don't you dare claim not to know me," as she radiates in flame in her buff state, going, "It's me, Gawain, your darling Gawain, the one you love so much. Take us over to Mom right now. Oh wait, don't tell me. You're going to punch out your beloved daughter. Can you even? I bet you can't." Getting right up in his face, and in an instant, Escanor literally punches her square in the face, knocking her onto the ground in one hit. Look, I'm going to be honest. Key piece of comedy that I do when the anime gets to this point does interrupt Gawain's speech the second she says punch your own daughter. Because that would be hilarious. It's brutal, it's sad, but it's also hilarious. Because this isn't the real Escanor. He would never do this. But Escanor would in fact do this to someone he has no respect for, and someone he has no idea who they are. Like, guaranteed he would. And Lancelot also echoes that it's not really Escanor there, as Gawain gets up, is like, wait, he hit me? And then he kicks her into the sky as she lands into the wall. As Tristan and Percival instantly realize where this is going, and they're not liking where this goes, as Gawain starts bawling her eyes out, saying and crying to her dad, saying, "Why did you hit me? Why did you kick me? You never loved me at all." With Lancelot saying how she's being an idiot. And we have a old school Gawain temper tantrum that we have not actually seen in a long ass time. As she just screams, just flails against Escanor, saying that she hates him, stupid muscle-bound mustache freak, as she wails him without any regard for actually hurting him, like a child, which, again, is kind of hilarious and also kind of adorable to an extent, because she's actually doing something a spoiled brat would do to her father. Granted, in this instance, her quote-unquote fake dad, in this instance, punched and kicked her, so, I guess the tantrum's kind of justified to an extent. But I just love how the guys are just off on the side being like, it's been a while since we have seen this, huh? Which honestly goes to show how much Gawain has mostly matured in terms of personality for the most part, as she has not thrown any tantrums even when she was on the verge of defeat or has had a very tough fight. She's come a long way from when Pelgard humbled her back in the Leonis arc almost 200 chapters ago. It's just that now she's just having a lot of conflicting emotions as she's seemingly facing her father. But Gawain's bloody fist wipes against Escanor's forehead, and before he can respond and grab her fist, he disappears. As Lancelot instantly puts it together after wondering why he disappeared, it's like, oh wait, he did ask for him to show you your blood. She is the daughter of the born sin of gluttony, so I guess they literally had to show him her blood. So, a roundabout way to get there, but hey, that's how they deal with Escanor, seemingly. Tristan says how strong this illusion was, and Percival says, yeah, it was probably stronger than the real thing, but then off on the side, we see Merlin's sacred treasure that was just floating there the entire time, as we hear Merlin's voice say that this was no mere illusion of Escanor. Now, this is where I am glad I didn't make a follow-up video about this Escanor reveal from the end of the last chapter, because I was going to say that with the combination of Camelot's illusions giving it physical form, Merlin's infinite magic, and at least now how Merlin views Escanor, and now with their sacred treasure, like initiating summoning this version of Escanor, that this would be the strongest iteration of Escanor ever. And this chapter would go on to seemingly prove that, as Lancelot wasn't able to really injure him at all or do anything to this Escanor. But Merlin begins to appear, saying that one trait of her sacred treasure star Alden is known as Analyze, as she crafted that with the power of Camelot based on the analyzed physical abilities of Escanor himself. He is the most powerful guard in the world. Of course, the body, much like magic and sacred treasures, was an artificial creation. None of that could have ever held a candle to the real Escanor, with Lancelot off on the side kind of annoyed, being like, you can't be serious, right? As Merlin fully begins to appear, saying to forgive her for the rough welcome, it's all for the sake of protecting her secrets. Gawain looking on to see her mom, as the chapter ends on Merlin making her full appearance, introducing herself as Merlin, the born sin of gluttony of the 7 deadly sins, and it's the time for her to reveal the truth. And that's the end of the chapter. Honestly, went through this a lot quicker than I initially thought. It was mostly just action of the 4 knights facing off against an illusion / artificial creation of Escanor, and if this was the real Escanor, an instance of child abuse. Thankfully, was not the real Escanor. But still, this showed us a couple of things. One, the 4 knights might actually not be able to defeat Cath right now. Again, it took basically Bond, but also all the sins combined to fully take him down. And the fact that at least Lancelot could not deal with what essentially is a weaker version of Escanor, seemingly, could show that they might not be ready to face Cath. And not only that, this chapter is just glazing Escanor to no end, saying how he was heralded as the strongest sin at the end of the series, and now he's taking on all 4 knights of the apocalypse without taking any real damage whatsoever. Yeah, Gawain nullified Cruel's son with her passionate son, but at the end of the day, it was just canceling it out, and this version of Escanor probably wasn't even going full force. Lancelot not being able to deal any damage was crazy, or doing anything to it. Escanor literally flexed his abs and seemingly messed up his wrist, which is crazy to think about. Power scalers are going to be like drooling at the mouth to talk about Escanor's strength now that this chapter came out, with Merlin basically confirming that a weaker version of Escanor created from just an analyzed version, a copy, with Camelot backing it up into its actual physical creation, is weaker than the real Escanor. That is something to really think about right now. I'm going to make a follow-up video just giving my full thoughts, really getting into Escanor and why he would be considered so powerful, and maybe the sins might actually be way stronger than the 4 knights as we initially thought in this instance, primarily Meliodas, Bond, and especially Escanor at the end of his life. But still, it's a lot to think about and consider, and I'm wondering what Merlin is going to tell them about the truth. Obviously, they're going to reveal about, what happened to the real Arthur, show them the real Arthur, and who knows, maybe Merlin might be aware of the Knights of the Holy Grail's origins, and maybe she will tell them what's going on with them. Maybe they're a test created by the Tower, for all we know, in Camelot, or something else is going on, and we're messing with timelines and shit like that, like I predicted previously. Who knows? But all I know is this was a really fun chapter, it was a fun chapter, and it gave Escanor a lot of respect and very appropriate glaze that he rightfully deserves. And it's so nice that Nakaba has basically become the biggest Escanor glazer on the planet now that he's being mentioned multiple times, 2 chapters in a row. It's crazy. It's just really crazy that the author is being this upfront about how OP Escanor might actually be. And also more or less kind of confirms if Escanor was around, Kath would be no issue whatsoever. Will you guys let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this chapter and everything regarding Escanor and the fight we had right now and what could happen in the future. And once more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and hype up the video to boost the algorithm, showing that you guys enjoy what I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more of this. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.